Good evening. We'll go ahead and get started right away with the mayoral candidates. First, each candidate will come up to the podium to make their 3-minute introduction, and we'll start with our current mayor, Mr. David W. Combs.
Thank you, David, and thank you all for being here tonight. I also want to thank the sponsors, the Chamber and Pfizer, for sponsoring this event. You can see in the program, I'm from Rocky Mount. I was born and raised here, graduated from Rocky Mount Senior High, attended East Carolina University, and came back in 1973. In 1983, I started in the real estate business where I had some success, so I opened my own company in 1994, Century 21 Combs Company, which I still own and operate today. One of the things that I believe in when I got into the real estate business, and I believe it even more today, is that you got to give back to your community, not only with your time, but also financially, to invest back in the community that you are taken out of. And in my case, in the real estate business, we sell people homes, and so we are vested in the community. So in 2003, I decided to run for mayor, but before I did that, I had been involved in the community for over 30 years. I served on a number of organizations and boards throughout the community. My wife also has been involved in the community. I've served on the chamber board. I've served as the chair of the education division. I've served as the chair of the small business division. I've been very active in the United Way for 10 or 12 years before I got off of that board. My wife has served as the chairman of the Boys and Girls Club, Braswell Memorial Library, as well as my sister's house. So as a couple, we believe in being involved in our community, and we've done that not only through our actions, but also financially by supporting organizations in this community. So in 2003, I had the opportunity to run for city council, which I took that opportunity. I won that election and served 4 years as a city council member. I learned a lot during that time period, and at some point, Mayor Turnage had told me, if you were ever going to run for mayor, you ought to run for city council first to really see how city government works. I took his advice. I did win in 2007, and unfortunately for me, I didn't realize we were getting ready to be in a great recession in the United States. A lot of the last 6 or 7 years, we have been in recovery mode in the city of Rocky Mount. Not only personally, but also as a city. We've made a lot of great improvements in the last 7 years. Some of those things, obviously, that I was involved in and important to me in 2007 are still important. One is crime and public safety. The other one is economic development and also utility rates. I'll start with utility rates because most of you know we have been successful at that. We are having a 14% decrease in your utility rate on electric. Gas is going to be somewhere between 7 and 20% reduction. As far as crime, we have the lowest crime rate in Rocky Mount since 1983. So have we made success? Absolutely, we've made success. And then the last thing, of course, was the, lost my thought there, but was economic development, which we've had a lot of success. Pfizer is a good example of that. They're investing $160 million in Rocky Mount. And again, I want to thank all of you for being here. I got my sign to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Combs. Next, we'll hear from the candidate for mayor, Mr. David C. Drummond II. And candidates, if you will, just make sure you are mindful of the timekeepers here, so I don't have to gently pat you on that shoulder.
Good evening to our proctor, my esteemed opponents, and to all of you who have come out to listen to the candidates, including myself, speak this evening. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is David C. Drummond II, and I'm, of course, running for mayor of Rocky Mount. Tonight I want to touch on 2 key points that I believe will distinguish my candidacy from that of the other 2 gentlemen and may possibly form opinions for October 4th election. First and foremost, and the cornerstone of my campaign, is the safety and security of the citizens of Rocky Mount. And this is something that I'm uniquely qualified for. For the last 11 years, I have dutifully served the state of North Carolina as a correctional officer. Essentially, I help create and maintain a safe and secure area completely comprised of felons. Using training and knowledge and experiences that I've gained over that tenure, I will tenaciously pursue a lower crime rate because the city of Rocky Mount has a stigma of being a crime city, and that is something that we need to eradicate. Secondarily, I'd like to talk about the kind of ambassador that I will be for our city. I will continue to be the individual that I am now, which is completely accessible. I am available to whoever contacts me, and I will answer them. Secondly, I will continue to support every bit of positivity that is happening within our city. If there is any good that is happening from your community watch to your community's block party, I will most definitely come and support. And lastly, I'd like to go out and say that as a mayoral candidate, we must embody the unified city, that no matter what, we are projecting Rocky Mount as one body, and I will go above and beyond to denounce everything that is divisive along county lines, that is divisive along our school board lines. We are one city. We have an opportunity to go out and do good things, do great things together. And the start will be with this election as you choose one of us individuals to take you on your next steps throughout the year. Thank you.
Next, thank you, Mr. Drummond. Next, we'll hear from candidate Bronson Williams.
I want to say good evening to you. As you said, I'm Bronson Williams, a candidate for mayor for Rocky Mount, North Carolina, a 29-year-old lifelong resident of Rocky Mount, a student of the Nash Rocky Mount School Systems, a graduate of East Carolina University, where I received my bachelor's in science and communications. The predominant question that I've come in contact with as candidates in the area is, Bronson, why do you want to be mayor of Rocky Mount? And as I canvassed the area, I realized that we need change in Rocky Mount. When I talk to people from both sides of the tracks, they feel as though their voice is not heard. They feel as though change is not really happening in Rocky Mount. Now, what can we do differently in Rocky Mount? Obviously, we know the City Council has made some great strides to do amazing things in Rocky Mount. But unfortunately, the branding of the great things Rocky Mount has done when it comes to the office of mayor, we are not doing all that we can do to make our city known throughout the nation. The only way to grow our community is letting people know about the great things. When people talk about Rocky Mount having high crime rates, immediately the mayor should be responsive to those things, letting people know how low our crime rates are, letting people know how our community policing is working, letting people know about the Green Dot Initiative and all the things that is working in Rocky Mount. Rocky Mount needs a mayor, one that is able to talk to the homeowner and also the homeless, one who is able to talk to the hopeful and also the hopeless. Rocky Mount is in need of change. And we will not get it by doing the same old thing. We will not get it by hoping for change. We'll only get it by working for change. What are some of the things that I would like to do as mayor of Rocky Mount? One thing that we must do, we must get our young children involved. Senseless violence in our city has gone on for far too long. We need the Mayor's Commission of Youth Engagement, where we're teaching young children how to deal with conflict resolution, where we're teaching young children how to be effective leaders for tomorrow. Because we can't wait till someone is 50 or 40 or whatever age and decide to get in leadership. We need to start training people today and realizing that we do have opportunity here at Rocky Mount. And I believe this is now the time that we can make real that opportunity and make Rocky Mount great again. And thank you for coming out today. And I do hope that by the end of tonight, I will earn your vote and strong ambassadors to say, let's make Rocky Mount great. Thank you.
I want to thank all the candidates for their introduction. We're going to move on next to the media question phase. Has anyone from the Telegram arrived? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
And as he gets situated, Mr. Williams, do you have a microphone?
No.
Can we give a microphone to his phone, please? During this section, this will be 15 minutes that the candidates will be able to take questions. To be able to take questions from the media. And we will start with Clint Williams. During this time, you get a minute to rebuttal if they ask you the question directly, and if you want to follow up, you also get time to do that as well. So I will be controlling this part to make sure that this is fair, and that the timekeepers will be working with me to make sure nobody goes over their allotted time per person. We will start as soon as, okay, we'll go ahead and start first with Mr. Williams from WHIG.
Thank you, Candace. Appreciate y'all being here tonight and making yourself available to the public to address the questions tonight. First question I have for you is, and this is for all of you, all of my questions tonight will be generalized for all the candidates. Jobs are a big concern for our community. What experience do you bring to the mayor's office to help bring new industry and manufacturing opportunities here, and to encourage small businesses to form in Rocky Mount?
I'll start. Is this on? Is that on now?
That's all? I think so, yeah.
All right, thank you. Over the last 7 years as mayor, and even before that, I've been very active in terms of economic development. I served as the vice chair of the Carolinas Gateway Partnership, which for most of you know is a joint venture between both counties and the private sector of Rocky Mount. During that time period, we've had a number of companies that not only have relocated to Rocky Mount or expanded in Rocky Mount, and part of our goal is not only to recruit new industry, but also retain industry in our community. Part of that goal is going out and raising money from the public sector, which I've helped them do over a number of years, to have that money to have incentives to give to companies when they're looking at Rocky Mount. So that experience that we've had, again, the county and the city, worked with Hospital recently on their $160 million expansion along with the state. We also worked with them the year before on an $80 million expansion. We worked with Nutcow trying to get them here. It was an Italian company, and I was personally involved in that. Also a company called Acme United that came and relocated to Edgecombe County, was involved in all of those. And we're still continuing to work with, right now, if you look at the Carolinas Gateway, we've got companies, small companies or expanding companies that are looking at over 300 jobs. Hopefully they'll be announced in the next 120 days. So that experience that I bring as somebody that has been a businessman in Rocky Mount does make a difference. It does make a difference in terms of small business recruitment. Not only have I served as mayor and a city council member, but I'm selling Rocky Mount every day when I have clients that come in, whether they're looking for commercial space or other space that they can do business in the city of Rocky Mount. And if you, that experience makes a big difference in terms of being able to tell your client what they need to know about Rocky Mount, why they need to relocate here.
All right, and Mr. Drummond, if you want to respond, you get 2 minutes, and then Mr. Williams will have 2 minutes as well.
My experience is a combination of personal experience as well as a research project from the entire time that I've been here. First of all, I come into Rocky Mount being many of the things that Rocky Mount is seeking to have. I came in as a young professional moving here straight out of college. I've worked to build my home, my community, my well-being through private sector, through state involvement, and even now I am working to open a business as we speak. I've also been in dialogue with a lot of leaders in other areas as far as how they have reversed their economic downturn. I've been in contact with mayors as far out as Indiana, Pennsylvania, and Alabama to talk to them about what their successes have been. One of the things that I would say is going to be a goal of mine is to redirect more of our development to be centered around our colleges in town. We have a unique perspective of having 3 institutions of higher learning in Rocky Mount, and to use those as focus points to draw in businesses for our colleges is a proven standard for growth. You look at the college cities in our state and even abroad, they all have strong economies because education does not have any economic downturn. There's always someone looking to improve themselves through education. And if we can tap into them as part of our business portfolio, so to speak, for the city of Rocky Mount, they will promote a great deal of growth for us.
2 minutes, Mr. Williams.
Thank you. When we look at Rocky Mount, the first thing that I believe we need to really focus on is restoring the hope in our community. When we look at the intellectual currency that we have here in our community, we have to allow people to know that it's okay to start a small business in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. We have to have a city council that's willing to invest in more incentives to attract even not just major industries, but those small technological companies that may be formed right in someone's backyard. Maybe the new Facebook or the new Twitter could happen right here in our community. Of course, we've had the historical textile industries and etc., but we've got to be progressive in our thinking, knowing that we need to tap into new sectors. And when you talk about my experience, of course, I am a local business owner, Promised Land Child Care Center on Bivany Road in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, where we talk to many people and many business owners who are needing child care for their children and looking at different things that's missing here in Rocky Mount. I believe that given the opportunity, the business climate and job opportunities will be made real once we collectively work together, instill that hope back in our community, and see us grow like never before.
Thank you, The gentleman from the Telegram, it's your turn now to ask a question.
Yes, thank you very much. I wanted to ask about the event center or the downtown community center, whatever it's being called now. If it's a good idea, if it's a bad idea, what each one of you think about that?
Mr. Williams, we'll start with you, 2 minutes to respond.
The downtown community facility is a facility that I have been greatly researched and et cetera. Have talked to people from both sides of the aisle with the downtown community facility. And when you look at things that will change the quality of life for our community, when you look at things that will open up new opportunities in our city, it seems to be the sensible thing for us to invest in at this particular time. Bearing that there are the different financial components are there, that it is affordable for the citizens, that we ensure citizens that want to participate in it. Because anything that the city invests in, you will need that participation, or ultimately it will fail. That's the reality of the situation. I don't know how much research people have been given into the event center, what their sources of information is, but I spend a lot of time, and Mayor comes to tell you that, at city council meetings, at committee whole meetings, when those various things are happening, so I can get the first-hand information about things and ask questions about the event center. And from what I've seen thus far, it does seem to be a great project. It hasn't been approved for the city council as of yet, from my understanding. But anything that brings economic development in our community, I'm certainly for it.
Mr. Drummond, 2 minutes.
I've gone on record as describing it as a home run swing. But I've also said you can't win a baseball game without swinging for home runs. I think that it is part of a grand scheme that has to be committed to by the entirety of the city council. That a big project only works if the small projects are already working. This is a big project, it's a big undertaking for our city, and should it work, it's going to transform a great deal downtown. The goal is not to fail, and to avoid failure, we have to have everything going. I was asked by one individual, which, I haven't had a chance yet to go and bring this forward, but if we're going to build this event center, we have to have the infrastructure around as basic as signs to say downtown Rocky Mount. I don't know how many of you have noticed, but there is no sign on 64 that says downtown Rocky Mount. That is one of those small projects that will facilitate the success of something like that, where you are telling people that our downtown matters way before we have this project coming up, before the first bit of dirt is moved, to say that downtown Rocky Mount matters well before we have to put up a building or have an event or have anyone come in and hold anything, that every piece of the puzzle has to be put down.
Mayor Collins, 2 minutes.
Thank you. Obviously, the event center or community center has been controversial. When the city council originally looked at the project, it was as a catalyst to continue with the success that we had already had downtown. We've done the streetscape again while I was mayor. We've done the Douglas block while I was mayor. And we had a lot of success. Our downtown development manager would tell you right now, we have more people looking at downtown Rocky Mount than probably in the last 20 years. We've got buildings under contract. And again, to continue that success, the project was always looked at as an economic development tool to continue with the success that we've already had with the event, the sports complex. We have close to 100,000 people coming into that sports complex, and there are people say people won't come. Well, they are coming. They're coming to Rocky Mount for the sports complex. They're staying in Rocky Mount. They're spending money. And the projections, and I'll have to say that the group that has been opposed to it also made us go back and redouble our efforts to look at things with a different point of view and come back with probably a better plan than what we had originally. So I'm not going to tell you that we always get everything right the first time, but we've spent enough time and due diligence on this project that, you know, my hope is that when that decision is made, and I think we're close to making it, that once that decision is made, everybody in Rocky Mount will get behind this project. I don't think anybody ever expected the sports complex to be as successful as it's been, but we know it succeeds. We know that sports and travel industry, our sports travel industry is a $200 billion business. And what we're doing in Rocky Mount is to tracking that. There's 400 towns, villages, and cities in North Carolina. There's only 36 with a population over 25,000. We happen to be the 16th largest city in North Carolina, and we can make it work. And I think when we make that decision, you'll see that the community will get behind it, and we will do everything as a city and a city council and mayor to make it successful.
Mr. Williams.
Well, that was a perfect question. It's my follow-up to that. With an estimated debt load of including the debt, including the actual financing in the building, we're looking at $40 million plus for the cost of building the downtown community facility. This is a two-part question. The first is for each of you to answer yes or no, and then we'll follow up afterwards. Yes or no, do you believe that the residents of Rocky Mount should have a voice in this process?
Mr. Drummond, why don't we start with you?
Yes or no? Yes. But in the word, your yes is also attached to the fact that you can show up at the city council meetings and voice your opinions. And yes, in the respect that everything that we do, we shouldn't be afraid to make it public. Give them the opportunity to educate themselves and then have an educated opinion for or against, as opposed to a mass rejection without proper education on the facts.
Mr. Combs, we'll go with you, and just so everybody knows, he said yesterday, but we told all the candidates they would have 2 minutes per question, so that's why.
To answer your questions, I think you do have a vote. You elect city council members. Every time there's an election, those city council members will represent the people in their wards. The projects that we've done similar to this, whether it's the Imperial Center or the sports complex, were done by city council with, you know, the voters of Rocky Mount didn't vote. They voted for the council members that made that decision at that time. Again, if every decision we make at the city, and we make a lot of decisions every year, we have a $194 million budget, and we're making decisions all the time, financial decisions all the time for the city of Rocky Mount and for the citizens of Rocky Mount. So my answer to you is, in a perfect world, you'd always do that, but you can't do that all the time. And I think in this case, you do have council members that are elected by the public, and most of them have been elected multiple times, and they, past history shows you that they've made some good decisions in terms of what we've done in the past with the Imperial Center and the sports complex.
Mr. Williams?
And my comments would be very much similar to Mayor Combs in that when you went to the ballot box year after year, certainly that was, in fact, a referendum. It will behoove me that every time a situation came up, that we'll be spending countless amounts of dollars for referendum after referendum for everything. What would be the tipping point for a referendum? Is it 40 million? Is it 100 million? Is it 200 million? So when you begin to open up doors for this referendum on that or that, you begin to basically have an endless spending cap of stuff where it wouldn't make sense. Ultimately, why do we have elected people if everything is doing that way? If they have a great platform and you're holding your elected people accountable for their actions, the people do have a vote on every single vote that a city council person takes. That's my response to that situation.
So just to clarify, and again, this is just a yes or no, you are against a referendum?
I think a referendum would be a waste of time at this particular time. Let's look at this situation here. I think it's very evident that City Council member Tom Rogers is running unopposed. Obviously, that was the referendum in Ward 5. Council member Andre Knight is running unopposed. Obviously, that is the referendum in Ward 1. So there has been a referendum and already. So why spend more money to get the same result?
To his question as far as yes or no, are you for a referendum or not?
No, I'm not for a referendum. I think that people should educate themselves and then, accordingly apply pressure within the city council system.
You heard my comment a while ago, so no, I'm not in favor of it.